Good evening. I'd like to call this meeting to order. The Ridgewood Village Council. This is a public workshop. The date is May 25th, 2022, and the time is 7:30 p.m. Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by a posting on the bulletin board in Village Hall, by mail to the Ridgewood News, the Record, and by submission to all persons entitled to same as provided by law, with schedule including the date and time of this meeting. Roll call.
Councilwoman Perrin. Here. Councilwoman Reynolds.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Seaton.
Here.
Councilman Vagianos is absent. And Mayor Knudsen.
Here. Please join us for the flag salute.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I ask everyone to join us in a moment, for a moment of silence, reflecting on the unspeakable events that took place in Texas yesterday. Thank you. With that, we'll go to public comments, not to exceed 3 minutes per person, for a total of 40 minutes. Please remember to state your name and address for the record.
Evening. Lori Weber, 235 South Irving Street. I couldn't attend the last meeting when Pride Month was honored with a proclamation, but I watched it later on, only to find that Pride Month had been very much dishonored. Councilmember Vagianos read the Pride Month proclamation with great feeling, but then took that moment to immediately grandstand about the organization of the Pride Committee. I would suggest that if you'd like more members of our LGBTQ community to participate, find ways to reach out and inform our entire LGBTQ community of the opportunity. And while I can't blame Mayor Knudsen for feeling targeted, she gave credibility where none should have been afforded by responding in kind, once again dishonoring the occasion and taking us even further away from the relevance of Pride Month. The actual meaning of Pride Month had the spotlight for only a few minutes, basically serving as a prelude into an exercise in political dysfunction. Disappointingly, the rest of the council sat silently and did nothing to bring the focus back to the proclamation. It seems that every year the same people try to throw shade on how this event is observed and celebrated in order to further their own local political clout. It's ridiculous and disturbing. Last year, Mayor Knudsen invited my daughter, a lifelong Ridgewood resident and a member of our LGBTQ community, to speak at the Ridgewood Pride event. What a thrill this was for her and our family, and what a great feeling we had from that day's festivities. We approached someone afterwards to compliment her on how she had dressed up her dog for the occasion. She, in turn, insulted my daughter and admonished her that if she wanted to participate in the next year's Pride festivities, that she must go through her directly. At that last meeting, that same person dared to pontificate about the effects of mean-spirited and harsh comments on herself. How does someone like that wind up involved in the planning of what is supposed to support a sense of community and inclusivity? Please consider carefully the character of who serves on this committee. Remove all of the politics from it, and perhaps consider expanding it to truly serve our LGBTQ community members with other types of events throughout the year. Don't let them get lost in this divisiveness that has nothing to do with them. That has to stop. Thank you.
Thank you, Lori.
Hi, everyone. My name is Lynn Corcoran, and I live in Ridgewood. And I'm ashamed to say I haven't been here before, and I'm shocked at the amount of people people that are here. Back in the day, in the 40s, this had been filled.
I'm
but
sorry,
at any
just
rate,
speak
here's-
into the microphone so we can
Okay.
all hear.
Can
Loud
you
and clear,
hear
we want
now?
to hear you.
Yes?
Perfect,
Good.
wonderful.
Okay. So I am not as well organized as this young lady was. But here's what I want to say, what happened today. Well, I was listening to the TV and different things, you know, and I felt so powerless over what's going on. And I thought, what can we do as just as a citizen right here locally? What can we do, you know? And I started to get calls from people who felt the same way. And I said, I don't know. And I made a call here and found out about this meeting. And I said, I'm going to go there tonight. You know, I have to say this. Look, I thought about it and I thought, I'm a member of a 12-step group that started back in the 30s with two people, Dr. Bob and Bill Wilson. And now those meetings, whether you're talking about sex addiction, smoking, alcohol, drugs, whatever you're talking about, that's all over the world, not just the United States. So I thought to myself, why don't I just go up and ask them to do something, you know, so that people can feel a little more power. And I thought, I'm going to ask them to have a meeting, like what would you call it? A
town
citizens
hall?
meeting?
A town hall
hall
meeting?
meeting?
A town hall.
Yeah.
Sure.
And so maybe in a timely fashion where people can at least express what they're feeling. And how can we help with this? How can we help with this? You know, I have a personal reason. I have grandchildren that are in schools, and I have a daughter who's a teacher, and I just never saw the likes of this in my life. You know, so it's the thing that rallied me, at least, to come here. All right. So that's it. Do you need anything else? No? That
No,
it?
Thank
All right.
you. Anyone else? All right, so we'll close the public comment. I just wanted to say thank you for the comments about the Pride Committee. I couldn't agree more. And I actually will reach out to the interfaith community, Reverend Mac Brandon, to see if he's interested in maybe coordinating something with the village. I think it's a wonderful idea, and I truly appreciate you bringing it forward. I think we all feel very powerless, so thank you. With that, we will go on to our manager's report.
Okay, we have a lot of recreational opportunities coming up this summer. There's a new brochure available, and it answers your questions about summer programs, special events in the summer, and Ridgewood sports facilities. It is available at the stable, and we'll have some here also in the lobby of Village Hall. I want to remind everyone, Graydon Pool opening day is Saturday, June 4th. They'll be open 10 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. The early season is June 4th to the 24th, and during those days, it's weekdays 12 noon to 7:30 p.m. and weekends 10 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. Graydon has an accessible ramp for entry into the water, Adirondack chairs, shade system protection, a picnic area, shelter pavilion, and Wi-Fi accessibility. There's Graydon Storytime on the Beach on Thursdays at 3:30 p.m. in June, July, and August. We have a skate park right behind the stable, membership through Community Pass, and it allows use of the park through email information on the hours of operation, classes, and programs. Tennis and pickleball memberships are available at the stable or on Community Pass. There are 4 locations with a total of 12 tennis courts and 1 location for pickleball with 4 pickleball courts. There are a variety of Ridgewood mini camps taking place in August, and you can sign up for them at Community Pass. And then there's Hilt Senior Programs. They have monthly meetings, day trips, knit and crochet, bridge and mahjong, classic movies, exercise classes. I do want to mention we still have a need for certified lifeguards for Graydon Pool. Please contact the Recreation Department at 201-670-5500, extension 3111, if you're interested in this position. 64th Annual Free Summer Concert Series begins June 2nd at 7:30 p.m. at the Cashwell Memorial Shell. Please bring a chair or blanket. Concerts begin at 8:30 p.m. unless noted, and are scheduled for every Tuesday and Thursday in the months of June, July, and up to August 4th. All village offices have new telephone extensions. Please listen to the full menu, or you may dial 0 to be connected to our receptionist. They are all listed on our village website. At the top, there's a scroll, and one of them is for the new extensions if you do have access to a computer. Our Ridgewood tree ordinance requires a permit from the engineering department to remove trees on all private property and replacement of those trees, or a monetary fee towards planting trees in another location. Remember to license your dog in the month of June. There is a $20 late fee starting July 1st. The Bergen County Utilities Authority will hold a recycling event on June 4th from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. at Bergen County Campground Mountain Reservation in Mahwah, New Jersey. It's free for Bergen County residents. It's held rain or shine. They do require an ID, so you can have your license as your ID. No commercial vehicles are allowed. It will include mobile paper shredding, electronics and computers, unwanted medications, and tire recycling, but there is a limit of 4 tires. The Fred D'Elia 45th Ridgewood Run will take place on Memorial Day, Monday, May 30th. The course starts at Veterans Field and is sponsored by North Jersey Masters. All participants must be registered. The Memorial Day holiday is Monday, May 30th, and will be observed in Memorial Park at Van Ness Square at 11 a.m. American Legion Post number 53 has planned a patriotic program and welcomes the public to attend and remember the sacrifices. The Ridgewood Health Department will be hosting a Moderna vaccine booster clinic on Wednesday, June 1st from 2 to 3 p.m. at Village Hall. Ridgewood residents, school employees, and village employees may register. As most of you probably already know, the recommendation of an additional booster dose for those over age 50 and certain immunocompromised individuals will enhance protection against severe disease. To register, please go to www.ridgewoodnj.net/COVID-registration. The registration link is available from May 26th at 8:30 a.m. until May 31st at 8:30 a.m. Stage 2 water restrictions are in effect year-round for water conservation purposes. There will be postcards sent out to all Ridgewood water customers reminding them of the specifics for Stage 2 water restrictions, and it is recommended the customers put the postcard on the refrigerator or someplace where it can be seen as a reminder. Enforcement will begin next week. The first time that a Stage 2 water restriction is violated, a door hanger will be put onto the customer's door as a warning. There will be only one warning issued, and all subsequent violations will result in summonses being issued. Village of Ridgewood offices will be closed on Monday, May 30th in observance of Memorial Day. There will be no sanitation or recycling collection on that day. The recycling center is also closed. Please check your village calendar for the adjusted collection dates. We're still looking for school crossing guards for the coming school year. We're almost done with this year, but we're looking for September. If you're interested, please call the area supervisor at 201-969-7182. Village Council upcoming meetings are broadcast live from the Village Hall courtroom. They will be held on the following dates. June 1st, June 22nd, and July 6th are all council work sessions, which begin at 7:30 p.m., and June 8th is our June public meeting, which begins at 8 p.m. That's all I have.
Thank you. Councilwoman Perrin?
Thank you, Mayor. The Central Business District Advisory Committee met, and we discussed the new interactive parking map that's on the village website. We had a few suggestions to improve, and I passed those along to the village manager. We are planning a speaker for our June 9th meeting, which is via Zoom at 8:30 in the morning. If anybody would like to attend, just contact me and we'll put you on. The Open Space Committee conducted its Dunham Trail Walk on Saturday, I believe it was, the 14th, and we all had a really good time. The trees there are really magnificent, the sycamores, the shagbark hickory, the beeches, but it is kind of sad how many invasive plants there are there rather than natives in the understory. The committee met and decided to run a field trip to Hoffman Grove, which is in Wayne, and it's an area where they had a flood acquisition plan and they executed it. And now, if you saw the records article yesterday, they're planting gardens in that area where the homes were reclaimed. And that will be June 20th at 9 a.m. We'll be leaving Ridgewood. If anybody would like to join, just contact me. I did want to say last night the League of Women Voters ran a civics game night at Park West Tavern for newcomers and other residents, and it was really fun. The mayor and I were both on the panel, and everybody learned a little something new, I think. It was not just us, it was also the Board of Ed representatives and one of the vice presidents from the YMCA. And so it was great to meet some of the new people and talk to some of our longtime residents. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. The Green Team submitted the first round of Ridgewood's Sustainable Jersey application on Sunday with a total of 450 potential points. So we just have to wait to hear back from them, and we'll get our list of comments. We'll see which actions were approved. We'll see how many points we have, and we have another round of submissions, so we'll work on that for the rest of the summer and put it together. And it's 350 points to be resubmitted at a silver level. We are currently a silver level, so the resubmission should, I'm pretty confident we're going to get there, and we'll know for sure by about mid-November. And before that, there's 2 more rounds of submissions, so we should be pretty good. We have a very active team, and everybody's very helpful, and we got a lot accomplished. And the town has a lot accomplished. I'd like to thank the village manager and the engineering department, especially the engineering department. They were very vital in doing a lot of this. Mr. Calby's here. I'd like to thank him. The recycling department, a lot of things he oversees. The water conservation ordinance was a big piece of this to get silver certified, so we were able to do that. Not the first time, but on our second submission. So we were originally bronze certified, and then the silver certification required a little bit more in-depth actions, and that water conservation ordinance helped us get those, and now we'll conserve water, and that's a good thing. So that's all I have, and keep you posted.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Councilwoman.
Thank you, Mayor.
Reynolds.
The Citizen Safety Advisory Committee met on May 19th. The continuation of the West Glen Avenue sidewalks are in design mode for some of the challenging segments along the, I'm not good with directions, is it the west side of the road? They did the
South side.
The south side? Okay, of West Glen. So that will be continuing once they figure out the design challenge. Smart Streets banners are adding one more banner. They came and presented a couple months ago, and they decided to do one more banner that will say, "Heads up, phones down." The date that these banners will go up is currently unknown. They're getting prices. On May 14th, Age Friendly Ridgewood sponsored an Easy Ride program. There were 21 children that participated. They were all taught safe skills course, and then they were taken out for a bike ride on the road. There were kids in the morning that came that didn't know how to ride a bike, but by the time the program was over, 100% of the children were able to ride. So that's really good news. And they are looking to repeat this program again in September because it was such a good success. Residents from Newcomb and Midwood Road in the Lawns have requested a bus stop sign because kids are standing around and people really aren't aware of why they're standing there, so they think it's safer to have a bus stop sign to give a heads up about children gathering there. Committee member Mr. Prieto is going to follow up on this by speaking with the relevant Ridgewood Police Department and traffic officers. Our next Citizen Safety Committee meeting is Thursday, June 16th at 7:30. The Project Pride Committee planted the pots in the CBD this past Sunday morning. Yay! They look beautiful. It was a village-wide effort, and I want to give some special thanks first to Matt Andrula. He's from the Parks Department, and his team. They spent several early mornings downtown placing the pots, filling them with potting mix and soil. They also had help from Rich Tarleton and the Signal Division, who hung the clamshell baskets on the light poles in Van Ness Memorial Park. And a special shout out to Vic and Scott from the Parks Department, who were amazing. They were extremely helpful. Also, a special thank you to Nancy Bigos for arranging and agreeing to give us this extra help. We really couldn't have done it without it. Hopefully in future years it'll be easier now that the pots are in place, they're filled, it'll be much easier in following years. Project Pride members and volunteers met up at Van Ness Memorial Park early on Sunday morning, and we made quick work in planting everything. We were actually done in 2 hours, which was amazing. We look forward to seeing the growing results in the coming weeks. I really want to truly thank all of the committee members and all of the citizen volunteers for stepping up to the plate and helping to make our CBD pop with color. Coming in the future, Project Pride will have their Sunflower Awards, and currently, right now, if you happen to see any house that you think has done a beautiful job with their landscaping, if you want to send me an email, give me their address, they may be the recipient of the Project Pride Sunflower Award. And then this morning, the Pride Committee met. Everything is on track for a terrific Pride celebration, which will be on June 11th at 1 p.m. at Van Ness Memorial Park. It's going to be a fantastic event with speakers and music and, kids from the high school. It's going to be a great event, and I really hope that everybody will come. It was a wonderful event last year. I expect this year to be even better. Thank you.
Thank you. Just real quick, we did say that the village was going to pay for those safety banners, right?
Yes.
We found the money for that, so I thought we had the pricing, just FYI.
She was having trouble with the person that they were dealing with, so we told her to go to Bob from Ridgewood Press. So I'm hoping that it'll get straightened out because she wasn't getting anywhere with the previous vendor.
Okay, fine. I think we just got the thumbs up anyway. Good. All right,
And
very good.
also, I did want to thank Councilwoman Reynolds for the Project Pride Day. It was so much fun, and the design was really well planned for the pots.
Great job. I'm glad we reconstituted Project Pride. It's really great. All right, so I'm up. Thursday, May 12th, Historic Preservation Commission met to hear several applications, including sign applications for Nature Sparkle, which is located at 67 East Ridgewood Avenue, and Stretch Lab at 204 East Ridgewood Ave. Learn more about these new businesses at their websites, naturesparkle.com and stretchlab.com, and then go visit them once they're open. Members also discuss incorporating Upper Saddle River regulations into the recommendations section of the Historic Preservation Plan element, including a 45-day mandatory hold for any demolitions for structures that are individually designated as local historic landmarks, although not in historic districts, so that the HPC has the opportunity to review and object if necessary, because the effort is really to encourage restoration of older homes and not the demo or raising them. Also, to include the development of design guidelines for local residential historic districts into the recommendations section of the Historic Preservation Plan element, which will be part of the master plan. Saturday, May 14th, after a lively 8 a.m. mayor's meeting in Allendale, I joined volunteers at Bellevue Cemetery to place flags at the graves of veterans. Thank you to the Boy Scouts, the amazing Ridgewood High School Project Interact kids, and the American Legion Post 53, and everyone else who came out to help, including my husband. It's always so hard to find where to place the flags, where the graves are marked, because it's just a whole mapping system, and I know Mike has done it in the past. But it's really a nice event to attend and participate, especially with Memorial Day coming up. 4th of July, I met with the village staff last week to go over the day's events. It was a wonderful and exciting meeting, and I encourage everyone to visit july4th.net for additional information. It's going to be an exciting day, parade, fireworks, everything. Thursday was the grand opening for Forever Young, located at 20 Willsey Square. The facility is absolutely beautiful. and the highly trained Forever Young staff offers a variety of anti-aging services. If you would like to get a little more information, it's fyinstitute.com. That has a full menu of services and additional information. But again, everyone should visit because it's really nice. And then the new salad place is right next door, and of course Vistachi, so it's like you could just make a whole day of it. Friday, I conducted a village overview. Actually, we call this the Village Government Visit Village Hall Tour with the Travell third graders, and yesterday it was the Somerville third grade visit. Hopefully all those third graders are watching tonight. I invited them to do so. So a huge shout out to the students, their teachers, and their chaperones, and a special thank you to the Ridgewood Police Department for accommodating and helping them to, for their participation. Thorn Inn Roots was supposed to be a grand opening last night. That was postponed. Hopefully that'll be back on schedule. If you haven't done so already, please stop in for delicious and healthy avocado toast. The burrata is amazing, and that's located at 381 Route 17 South, just south of Paramus Road. Last night, again, the League of Women Voters hosted the Civics Evening at Park West Tavern. It was really a lot of fun, educational. Great to see so many familiar faces and lots of new faces. Sophie Miller was there, too. Pam did a great job. We had a lot of fun. And thanks to Ann Burton Walsh and to Joan Burns for organizing, and everyone else who participated. And I think Mac Brandon was our other panelist. So shout out to Mac. Actually, there was even a Monday evening dry run, so it was a lot involved, even just organizing and the PDF files and just doing everything. And the folks were really engaged, which was nice. Once again, as Councilwoman Reynolds pointed out, the Village Pride event will be held June 11th at 1 p.m. The committee really has been working hard to ensure the 2022 Pride celebration is a wonderful village event and a sincere community conversation. And I want to thank the banner and our little posters look fabulous. And I want to thank our Saga students and Alice Mende at Ridgewood High School for really getting us some great artwork and helping to put this together. It's absolutely beautiful. It really speaks to exactly what we want this to be. And any businesses out there that would like, we have an 11 by 11, I think it's 11 by 11 poster. They'll be ready in 2 days. Those will be available for storefronts. So any businesses out there, if you want to send that out through CBDAC, we'll have Joan Groom will send it out as well. Stores can contact me directly, and we'll make certain that we dispatch those and everyone can put them in their windows. And we were going to have the banner up on our screen, but I see we have loading zones instead. So we're good. And that is all I have. That wasn't enough. Okay.
Okay, we'll go on to our discussion items. The first item is grab-and-go parking spaces, 15-minute meters, and loading zones. As directed by the Village Council, the grab-and-go parking spaces were discussed by a committee consisting of Councilwoman Perrin, Councilwoman Reynolds, myself, Police Sergeant Chuck, and Police Officer Torino of the Police Department's Traffic Safety Bureau. The reason we're discussing this before our special public meeting is that depending on what we decide this evening, we would have to consider a resolution to extend the grab-and-go parking spaces through July 31st. It would be a fee of $750 for 3 months, which is May 1st, 2022 through July 31st, 2022. Sergeant Chuck and Officer Torino are here this evening to discuss the plan. So if they would come up at this time, that would be great.
Can you get just a microphone, though?
Yeah,
I'll try to shout and be loud.
let me get you a portable mic.
Okay. So to start, the grab-and-go meeting that we had, I felt was an opportunity to cover a lot of other issues that we're facing. It gives us a chance to deal with our truck traffic. It gives us the opportunity to deal with our lack of loading zones. It gives us the opportunity to deal with double parking. It gives us the opportunity to deal with people parking in yellow zones. What we currently have is, I believe, about 14 grab and go. And I'm going to use grab and go and complimentary interchangeably. We're going to call that basically the same. Oh, wow. So the ideas that we put out, you're going to add possibly upwards of 20 grab and go spots or complimentary spots. They're going to add loading zones. We can sit here for hours and talk about parking in town. We all know that it is a big issue. So if you want to let me go through this, and then we're not going to go through some questions that you guys may have. Okay. So our biggest issue that we have. Let's start in the mornings. This is a loading zone in the village of Ridgewood. That doesn't help any of the trucks and the size of trucks that we have coming into town. This is Chestnut and Ridgewood. This is the west side of the road. This is one 15-minute meter, and this is a 3-hour spot. Next location we're looking at, Chestnut is Ridgewood, the east side of the road. We have 4 complimentary spots and 1 3-hour spot. Proposal for the new loading zone. We have 3 complimentary spots, and where the current complimentary spots are, we will make a bank of 5 15-minute spots. So the current loading zone we have is 24 feet long. What we're proposing is extending that, taking the 15-minute meter, taking the 3-hour spot. From 6 to 4 p.m., that will be a loading zone. 20-minute loading zone for commercial vehicles. We need to get them off of Chestnut Street double parked. It's the biggest safety issue we have on Chestnut Street. We're told, go out there, write tickets, they're double parking. When we write as many tickets as we do to these trucks, it's identifying that there's actually an issue because they actually have nowhere to load and unload. So what we're saying is from 6 a.m. to 4 p.m., we're going to create a loading zone. It's going to be 65 feet total. From 4 to 8 p.m., that will become our grab and go. It will allow us to use our current loading zone and our 2 new spots as our grab and go. If we move where our current complimentary spots are, we have a bank of 5 spots right here. We need spots quickly. If we have a bank of 15-minute meters, those spots will continuously flip during the day. If you're coming in to Chestnut Street to run a quick errand,
Is that microphone on?
Just put it a little closer. Yes? No? Should say on. No? But it's not? Okay. Let me get another one. Mr. Rooney, you gonna get it? It's right on the back. Thanks.
I think when you tapped it, it worked, but it's for some reason it's not when
it's
you're.
just not transmitting over.
Oh, Bob has it.
All right, so we're having a 65-foot loading zone. The hours of the loading zone are from 6 a.m. to 4 p.m. Then we'll switch over to our grab and go from 4 to 8 p.m. From 4 to 8 p.m. still parked there. They're out into the crosswalk. It causes an absolute nightmare. This is a 1 3-hour spot. This is Broad Street on East Ridgewood Avenue, the west side of the road. We've got Stella behind there. It's one 15-minute meter and a 3-hour spot. This is North Broad Street at East Ridgewood Avenue on the east side of the road. This currently houses 4 of our complimentary spots and a delivery truck. What we are proposing, our 19-foot current loading zone will take up the 3-hour spot as well. And that creates a 45-foot loading zone, making this intersection much, much safer. It will be a loading zone from 6 to 4 p.m. It will be a grab-and-go location. We can utilize this spot as well as another grab-and-go location. So that's 2 grab-and-go locations. We will create a grab-and-go location from the loading zone right here, utilizing the 15-minute meter and 3-hour meter. What is currently the 15-minute complimentary for the grab-and-go, I'm proposing to add 4 15-minute meters, so 4 spot meter 15-minute meters, so that they turn over. There is a 15-minute meter here. I propose turning that into a 3-hour because the amount of people I see turn right into that spot and then have to immediately back out, not knowing that it's a 15-minute meter, causes a serious issue right there. We can get rid of that 15-minute meter. Oak Street and East Ridgewood Avenue is the west side of the road, right in front of the Lucky Brand. This is a complimentary spot right here. This is a makeshift loading zone that we see often, very often. Again, there is a stop sign right there. There is a crosswalk right there. Serious traffic issue. We deal with it often. These are 2 spots on Oak Street at East Ridgewood Avenue on the west side of the road. These are 2 3-hour spots. These are the 5 spots on the east side of the street. They currently house 4 complimentary spots and 1 3-hour spot. This is Van Ness, right in front of the Course of yours is 1 15-minute spot and 2 3-hour spots. So in our diagram here, what we are proposing, we want to take the 2 3-hour spots and make a loading zone. We want to make the bank of 5 spots here all 15-minute meters to get that movement. We can keep this a 15-minute meter. We can make it a complimentary, but we can't make this a loading zone because it creates too much of a danger. Across the street on Van Ness, where the Course of yours and the liquor store, I propose to make all those on the right side, on the west side of Van Ness, 15-minute meters. This is Prospect Street, East Ridgewood Avenue. There's 1 15-minute meter, 3 loading zone spots right there that are underutilized. The reasons why they're underutilized is no truck is going to attempt to parallel park their truck in a loading zone. There's a vehicle here. So we're proposing to reverse, put the loading zone here, and then put the 15-minute spots beyond the loading zone. It can be striped as a grab-and-go as well. I think it's an opportunity. This is South Lawn on East Ridgewood Avenue on the west side of the road. 2 3-hour spots. We can create a loading zone and a grab-and-go spot for that location. East Ridgewood Avenue and Cottage Place is the south side of the road. Constantly, daily. There's a truck here. There's a truck in the intersection. There's a truck beyond. There's people parking their cars to drop their kids off at the lacrosse school. These spots are 3 hours in front of the movie theater. I'm actually proposing that we make this entirely a loading zone, but for passenger vehicles as well. Be able to, in front of a movie theater, pick up and drop off your children. Get rid of the spots. They park here anyway to drop off their kids. We're creating a dangerous environment by not giving people a safe place to pick up and drop off. In front of a movie theater is a perfect opportunity to have this as a Joplin Avenue and Woolsey Square. These are all 3-hour spots. We're proposing to put a 15-minute meter here and a 15-minute meter here to benefit the stores that are on that side of the road. I know that was a lot to take in a short period of time, but I'm open for questions, comments, concerns. Our problem is twofold. We have problems during the day. The day is our truck traffic. There's nowhere for them to go. We need to find a safe place for them to go. They park in crosswalks. They park in front of fire hydrants. They double park. We write them summonses. We can write them summonses all day. They still don't have a safe place to go. We need to find them a safe place to go. Talking to residents, talking to people in town, they're looking for spots to flip quickly, whether it's to pick up food, whether it's to drop off dry cleaning, whether it's to get a cup of coffee. We need more 15-minute spots. We need spots to flip. If you were going to come into town for dinner or for lunch, you know you might have to park a little bit away because you're going to be there for 2 or 3 hours. If I'm coming into town to get a cup of coffee or to drop off my dry cleaning, I don't want to park 3 or 4 blocks away and have to walk 5 minutes and walk 5 minutes back. 15-minute meter, center of town. East Ridgewood Avenue can be utilized. All the side streets can be utilized using those 15-minute meters. Quick start from here. It's a lot, but what we have right now isn't necessarily working.
So I have a couple of questions. I think I'm confused is that, I've spoken to a lot of businesses, and not all are happy with the 15-minute parking spaces because that actually takes from their customers. Their customers aren't there to jump in and jump out. That actually hurts businesses, having too many. What I'm confused about or don't understand is why did all of the loading zones, when they're not being used as loading zones, convert to 15-minute complimentary? Why weren't they just put back to whatever the existing configuration is? So what prevents anyone from taking the first 4 3-hour parking spaces on any street and making it a loading zone from this time to that time? And by the way, I think that if we're doing it 10 to 4 on any given day, we have to do outreach to these businesses because that's also changing the dynamic of their customer foot traffic. So, but I'm not disagreeing because I actually, my most infamous story, I still have photos of it somewhere, the truck actually double parked and blocked me into my space, and I was very nice about it, but I didn't have to be. So I don't understand why are we converting everything to 15-minute parking. Why don't we just say, okay, we know we have this loading zone issue. We know we want some 15-minute parking spaces. Why do these all have to be converted to 15-minute?
Because we're trying to alleviate our double parking problem. We're trying to help the businesses that utilize the on-demand food businesses. We want to have the people that come to pick up their own food have a place to go and pick up that food. They're utilizing Chestnut Street, they're double parking. If we use these grab-and-go spots, if we have 15-minute spots, you will see Chestnut open up. We're told to go out there on a Thursday, Friday, Saturday night and write tickets to these vehicles, but there's nowhere to go. If we give them tickets, yeah, they get a ticket, they move, but they might not come back because they know there is nowhere for them to go. If you look where I put all these 15-minute meter banks, they're all on the same corners off of East Ridgewood Avenue. So if you come into town and you know that you need to run an errand, I'm going to go down Broad and East Ridgewood, I'm going to look right there. I'm going to go to East Ridgewood at Chestnut, I'm going to look right there. Same thing for Oak Street. We already have that in front of the post office. We already have that in front of Walgreens. If people know that these are the locations of 15-minute spots and I need to run an errand, I need to go to Town and Country, that is the first place I'm going to. At nighttime, if I'm picking up my food, that is where I'm looking to. And then the grab-and-go complimentary, it's just keeping traffic moving. It's pulling on the side of the road, running out, grabbing your food, getting back in your car, leaving, opening up for the next guy or gal. It's movement. That's what we're looking to do here. We're looking to clear up the side streets that we have our biggest issues and get movement.
And I mean, I'm kind of looking for people to stay and shop. I get what you're saying. I think that
Yeah.
we have to strike a balance.
We can do a study, and I can tell you any time of day how many 3-hour spots I can find, and they're there.
But you know,
They'll never be in front of the store you want to shop in front of, but I have the ability to, any time of day, look to see how many spots there are. The 15-minute spots, somebody that wants to come in quickly, those are the people that should be centrally located.
I think this is a brilliant plan. I fully support it. I mean, this is great. I drive past downtown every single day. I come down Chestnut Street, and I make the right on Franklin Avenue. I go under the overpass. I go home. And let me tell you, I know exactly what you're talking about. Chestnut Street is a parking lot. The whole street is a parking lot. There's trucks, there's cars. If I was going downtown to downtown Ridgewood and I saw that, I would make the right and go somewhere else anyway, because I know you have to weave in and out of traffic. You might not even be able to get down the street during the day. It's patently unfair. Now, I know you guys have to keep traffic moving and everything, but think about it. It's so unfair to have to ticket these trucks, because they have to deliver items to businesses, and we literally have nowhere to. We have one 40-foot loading zone, and that's it. So we're saying, hey, look, we have this great downtown, and it needs lots of stuff. You have to bring in food, you have to bring in merchandise, and you have to have constant deliveries. But when you get your deliveries, your driver's definitely going to get a ticket because they have nowhere to go. So you could park in the garage. You could park, like you said, you're never going to get the spot in front of the business that you're looking for. That's just not going to happen. They're not those businesses' spots. They're villages' spots. So you have to keep traffic moving. I think this is probably the best parking plan I've seen for downtown in 8 years I've been on the council. So thank you very much for it.
That's it, Mike.
Ray,
I'm telling you, I love this. This is great.
I have a question, Ray.
Yes, ma'am.
So when we were discussing this the other day,
Yeah.
we had decided, Pam and I had agreed that we thought 3 15-minute spots by Blue Mercury and then 2 3-hour spots.
Yeah.
Because, Blue Mercury is suffering. If there's not a spot near them that somebody can park and go in and shop for a half hour, 45 minutes, why did that change?
So,
Was there something?
and again, I'm selling it from what I've seen over growing up here, working here for very many years. We can easily sign that area, paint that area, make it pop so that people know that those 5 spots are sitting there perfectly, waiting for us to do something with them that is able to be looked at and go, oh, yeah, okay, there's that line across the road, there's paint right across that line, that's this 15-minute spot, and all of them are uniform. There's no way around it that, I drive by it, I know that one's open, it's a 15-minute spot, I'm in it. I know that's what we talked about. I will tell Blue Mercury they have an empty Chestnut lot behind them. They've got 8 spots on East Ridgewood Avenue. I don't expect people to come into town and be able to park on East Ridgewood Avenue to try to get their business done. It's a lucky day if you're able to do that.
Isn't the Chestnut Street lot full almost every day?
Not during the daytime.
No?
There's plenty of parking for businesses on Chestnut lot. It's probably a little underutilized right now. It definitely gets busy more towards the lunch hour, but I don't think it's full at this point.
So just real quick, on Chestnut, in front of the tobacco shop.
Yep.
That almost the entire front of the tobacco shop from 6 a.m. to 4
Yep.
is a loading zone. It's tantamount to making him invisible to everyone every single day.
He almost has to deal with that already, and again,
Well, he has to deal with it in one spot. I know, I've been there, I've seen it. But what this proposes is to block his store permanently, remove the parking from in front of him. Now, I just know, when we did the, what do we call that? Valet parking at Roots, right across the street, right? It's right across the street, right, Roots. So when we did that, the cigar shop lost a ton of business. And here, not only are we taking away the most immediate, and I'm not advocating for any business because I know Blue Mercury is so, I get it. I mean, they have a problem there. They're not looking for all these 15-minute parking spaces. They're going like, we need regular parking. But what we've done here is just put the equivalent of the, what do you call it, valet parking. It's like on steroids here. He has no parking. Where are his customers going?
Yeah.
Why aren't the parking? Why aren't the trucks in front of the?
It's one of those businesses where I thought of him when I did the full 15-minute spots. It needs to be addressed. It needs the vehicles need a place to go. The trucks need a place to go. That is the safest place for them to go. If there was another spot that was in an area where there were no businesses, great. But these will have access to the East Ridgewood Avenue stores as well as all the Chestnut stores. If I could find a better location, I would. There's no other locations.
Also remember at 4 o'clock, which I think the cigar shop's biggest clientele time is after work. That's when he wants guys to run in, grab a cigar, and run out. He has 3 complimentary spots. So those guys are going to have to pay to run in and get their cigars. So they're getting free parking to run in and get their cigars. An open parking lot in front of the store.
So I think it's a good plan. I think I need time to process this, so I think we need to continue with the grab and go as it is right now. But I also think we have to go see the store owners because, when we went through this whole thing, whether it was dining corrals, pedestrian plaza, and exactly what the concern was for those businesses, we are replicating just in a different configuration. Exactly what the issue is, we're just redoing it, but permanently. So, and yet it's a good plan because I know we have to do something about the trucks. I have to say, I've seen plenty of empty parking spaces everywhere, and I still see people, DoorDash, is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Double park, illegally park at the corner, park practically on the sidewalk with their directionals, double parking, blocking everyone, double parked on both sides of the street when there's plenty of parking. They are double parking in front of the store because the store owners, the restaurant owners are coming out and bringing the food to the DoorDash guy or whatever. Is that what it's called?
DoorDash, Uber Eats.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The restaurant owners, all this effort, we're still going to have double parking because they're taking that bag of food, they're running it out. I'm telling you, I was in the queue. I was stuck on Chestnut trying to make a right onto Ridgewood Ave. The queue coming down to get restaurant food was blocking the entire intersection, and people were coming out of the restaurants giving the cars their food. And yet there was plenty of parking. So nobody's going to go to the garage to do that. They're not going to do it because, there's the reason people don't do it. Time is money for DoorDash, and people want their food real quick. So I think it's a good plan. I think we have to tweak it. I'm sorry, Pam.
If I understand correctly, the loading zones now are for trucks. They're not for DoorDash and Uber Eats and those kinds of fast things. But under your plan, the way you've defined the loading zones is those people would be able to stop in those areas.
Yeah.
And that would relieve the daytime need for the Bank of Five grab-and-go spots. And I think it is on either Chestnut or Oak where the Bank of Five includes the kiosk. Oh, maybe that's even on Broad.
That was Chestnut, I
It was
think.
Chestnut? Okay. And that's confusing, and you don't need to have those last 1 or 2 spots, and 3 would do, since you are using loading zones for all those food pickup services. So I think 3 would be sufficient. I would like to present this to the Chamber of Commerce. Their next meeting is the second Wednesday of June. If you could come and present, that would be great. We also have on June 9th, the CB-DAC meeting. If you could present at that, that would be great. I'd like to get input from the businesses and the residents.
Yeah, I have another question, too. What are the total number of spaces that from, is it 6 a.m. until 4? The total number of spaces assigned to loading zones, actual physical spaces that we take out of the parking space inventory.
Now?
I could tell you that in 2 seconds. I think it was 6. Uh, 13.
And then can you go back to in front of the theater where you're proposing to take parking spaces and make that, how many parking spaces there?
So, from what we see there on a daily basis, day and night, specifically at night with people dropping off kids, picking up kids, that's usually lined while there's 2 cars parked there. I propose to actually make it just an 80-foot, 86-foot loading zone, not have any parking spots there. It's very unsafe when there's a Thursday, Friday, Saturday. During the day, it's unsafe with people not double parking, but parked in the yellow zone, parked in the intersection, parked in the crosswalk. Again, we have a loading zone that's in between the possibility of 2 parked cars. Nobody's going to pull a truck or parallel park a truck in between 2 parked cars.
And then on that 86-foot loading zone, how many parking spaces does that take away?
Just those 2 that are in that second picture. There's just 2 right there that are 3-hour spots.
Because the loading zone is already there.
The loading zone's already there.
He's proposing just to take away these 2 spots and make the whole thing a loading, unloading, day and night.
And again, I taking away those 2 spots, I had in mind the fact that Cottage and the Cottage Annex are very, very underutilized.
Yeah, and again, and I see it as an issue for like, is that the cupcake place is there, right?
Mm-hmm.
I never really go to the cupcake place, although they're really good
And
cupcakes.
Dior and that,
And the UB,
that, the tea place, is
the
it?
tea place, right, the bubble tea, and the little salon, and the jewelry store is right there. And they're all complaining, and they're not going to be happy about losing parking. And actually, that really kind of decimates their parking because those are the closest 2 parking spaces to all of them. And is that Gattinelli right there? Yeah, and Gattinelli's right there. So I'm just a little concerned that, and I'll tell you the truth, I park over there all the time just to walk across the street to Daily Treat, right? Aren't we just on the opposite side of Daily Treat there?
It's a little
I think
further
that's a
down.
little further up. But really, it's a safety issue there. It's dangerous. And that really should be our first consideration.
So why don't we just get the whole thing and everybody kind of mull it over, take a look at it, go to the chamber with it? I mean, I think it's a good plan. It resolves the issue of the trucks. I just have some concerns about the parking impact. I do.
Yeah.
And I know, because I hear it from the business owners. I talk to them all the time.
I think we need to move forward as quickly as possible with the loading zones, because it is an absolute disaster. It's a safety disaster. It's deterring people from coming downtown. It deters me from coming downtown when I look at Chestnut Street and I see how wild it is. I'm like, don't even want to attempt to drive down there. And this isn't the first time we've heard this problem. This has been ongoing. And like I said before, we have a downtown that needs merchandise and food constantly.
Right.
So and no business is going to be happy that they're going to have a loading zone right in front of them. Maybe some will, but if we try and make everybody happy, nothing will ever happen. We'll be sitting here, we'll talk in circles, and we'll talk this thing to death. We'll be here 9 months from now saying, well, maybe a 15-minute spot next to a 3-hour spot, and 69.5-foot loading zone instead of 80 feet, and it's just nothing's ever going to get resolved. So I think we just need to bite the bullet and make a decision now on at least these loading zones, because it's a disaster down there. It's a safety issue. And these areas that are proposed are the best, safest places for loading zones. If the business doesn't like it, I'm sorry. We need.
I don't think
this.
I think that the concern. I think that first it has to go to the chamber. I think it's fair to discuss it with the other businesses, even non-chamber members. But I think the concern is more, why did all of those become 15-minute parking spaces on the off time? So I think we all get that loading zone piece, because like I said, I have a whole album of I've been blocked in by a truck photo. So all right. Okay.
So would you be willing to move forward with just the loading zones then that are proposed? Because we could do that, and then we could determine what they would be later. Are they 15-minute? Are they grab and go? Or are they just loading as he's proposing on East Ridgewood Avenue?
I think for me, everybody can decide what they want to do. I need a little more time to look at it, honestly.
Okay.
I would be in favor of doing the loading zones now, because I've looked at parking in Ridgewood for over 8 years. I don't know how much more and how much harder I could look at parking in Ridgewood.
But then we have to do the signage, and we might end up changing the signage later.
Well, we can change the signage. I mean, we change signs all the time here.
Right, but do you put in a meter? Do you leave the key? I think it's better if we decide the whole plan. We shouldn't do it piecemeal.
I kind of agree.
And I do think that I think we owe it to the businesses to at least get their reaction, their, input. Even if we go with this as it is, to me, this is unfair to them that nobody knew we were going to be discussing this or voting on this. It's like doing it in the dark of night. It's not fair. We need to put
Well, we
it out in
wouldn't
the
do it
open.
till June 8th. That would be the earliest we could do anything. So we have another meeting next week as well.
Right,
So
so
perhaps we could get information out to some of these businesses.
So
Can
that's
this
why it's the
PowerPoint be distributed to Chamber of Commerce?
it has to be marked, I guess, a draft proposal, just so everyone knows
Yeah.
this isn't written in stone. And I think that we should go out into the world and meet with people and just explain this is what it is. I do think it's a good idea to get the trucks off, but I don't think this is going to resolve the issue of people double parking and getting their DoorDash food, because that's their time. That's, they're doing that like that. I have some concerns about the 15-minute parking. I think I agree with Councilwoman Reynolds. I think we have an obligation to extend the courtesy to businesses to say, this is what's going to happen here, if that's how we move forward. So if we can just circulate this copy to everyone and then get out there and do this work.
Yeah, I also wonder how it's going to affect Feed the Front Lines, because they're moving in and out at 4:30, and I think they're starting up in June.
All the loading zones would be grab and go at that time. So
Yeah.
it could positively affect.
True.
It'd make it easier for them. They would know exactly where to go, and the food industry could move the food to them. They could be waiting for it on their way.
But I think we also have to talk about, I am a big proponent of, we can't have a lot of 15 minutes and a lot of grab and goes. It's too confusing to people. They either have to be all grab and go or all 15 minutes.
Yeah, I'm
People
sorry.
don't understand the difference. So we've got to just go put meters and it's 15 minutes, or it's all grab and go.
And I think that the ticketing of the people that went into the grab and go and then paid the kiosk, they don't understand it, and and plus, those are still in the 3 hour, by ordinance, still 3 hours. So I don't know how anybody even gets a ticket when they're parked in a parking space, a legal 3-hour parking space that's marked now complimentary for 15 minutes. We didn't do that by code, and the law states it's a 3-hour parking space. So I think we have a little work still here to do.
Can I point out one benefit? We were just talking about the 15-minute meters and the confusion we had. One of the benefits, and a really big benefit, of bringing back the 15-minute meter heads and having it bank 15-minute meters is the fact that it was right there in front of you. We're going to mark up all those spots, and I can enforce that. Any officer walking the street can enforce that meter. So it's ticket book in hand. You see that there's a vehicle in that spot and the meter is empty, you get a ticket. It's much more difficult with these complimentary spots to enforce without sitting there or having parking enforcement sitting there watching, knowing that that vehicle's been there for 3 hours. So just another benefit of having that, bank of 3 to 5
As all
parking
15-minute
meters.
15
As well, 15-minute meters, and you get that movement.
I absolutely agree. I think it was very cumbersome to watch the enforcement of the complimentary, and then even just it was painful to watch the ticketing of someone who paid for a kiosk, and so it's.
And this comes also from the hours and hours myself and Sergeant Chuck spent in court, listening to the tickets that have been written and why they're parking where they're parking, what they thought. Again, some of it is confusing, some of it is ignorance, but when we identify an issue, we have to come up with ideas to fix that.
Okay, so let's circulate it, because I don't want to talk about this.
Yeah, if you could send that to me, and then I'll circulate to the council. Did you want to discuss it again next week?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay, we'll discuss it again next
Absolutely.
week.
When we
And-
circulate it, can
Right.
we say we're using the words 15-minute meter and complimentary, like interchangeable, but we
I
don't
think
know
I think
what
it's just being circulated amongst the council right now.
Oh, I thought it was going to go out to the
Right? Or did you want it to go to
Well, I think
everyone
we
in
have
draft
to take
form?
I think we have to take hard copies to businesses to say this is, I think that's what Pam
Okay,
intended.
well, I mean, do you want to do that now, or do you want to wait and get it firmed up the way that you want it? Do you want 15-minute
Oh, yeah, maybe
meters?
that
Do you
makes
want
sense.
grab and go?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then, so after next week, then we could change whatever you all agree to, and then
Well, do we
could
have an
distribute
opinion
that.
now? I mean, do we have a consensus whether we would want them to be 15-minute meters?
Sure, you could
or
discuss it
all
now.
grab and go?
Sure.
I would not like to see grab and go end, because having a free space there for you is so inviting. On the other hand, I would like a mix of meters and grab and go, but I know that Sergeant Chuck wants something that is uniform.
Yeah,
And-
group consistency helps organize.
Yeah. And it's a lot of work to get the sponsors for grab and go. And there is a certain donor fatigue that I see creeping in. So I think I would lean towards meters.
I'm definitely for all meters. I think it's so easy for enforcement. If it's flashing, they're over the time. It's easy for residents. You have a quarter, you just stick it in the meter. I mean, to me, that's no big deal. But it's so hard to enforce, and then the 15-minute grab and goes were so confusing to people. It has to be consistent. It has to be all one or all the other. So I go with the 15-minute meter.
And just to remind you guys, we did speak, if we went to 15-minute meters, they would be 15 minutes for a quarter and not 12.
Right. A true
Correct.
15 minutes.
And I did ask, they can program it that way, that for the 15-minute only, it'll be a quarter for those 15 minutes.
I spoke to Rich Charlton from Signal. They have very large supply available still.
They do, they do.
What I hear the store owners complain about is people coming in and saying, "Can you change $1 for 4 quarters?" They don't like that. But that's somebody walking into their shop.
Well, then they have to buy, you used to have to buy a piece of candy, right?
Gum.
Put a Snickers
That's right.
bar on the table.
And nothing costs less than $1 now.
I know. Steve, what do you think?
The meters are good. If you want to continue complementary spaces, I mean, a loading zone would be painted as a loading zone, so maybe there's a way to put up a sign or do something that says from 4 to 8, this is complimentary. That way you're not paying all day for the spot, you're paying for that 4 hours, and it could be worked somewhere into the loading zone, so it's not so confusing. So the 15-minute meters are meters, and then a portion of or all of the loading zone could be complimentary parking for 15 minutes. And
You're
see,
going to
after
still
4.
have the confusion, Mike.
Yeah, I think
After
People
4.
people cannot.
No.
We definitely want to
Decipher.
simplify it. We definitely want to make it pop so that people understand. We don't want to add buzzwords in there. We're going to take out the striping that you see in the normal loading zone. It's going to be more like a big, thick box. The spaces are still going to be marked out. Whether it's a cut, that's why I made it purple. Whether it's a color scheme, whether it's the signage, whether it's extra writing, painting the road, telling you that it's a loading zone. We don't want there to be confusion. We want everybody to know when they go by what it is. They might have to read a little extra of a sign, knowing that it's from 8 to 4, and then see afterwards 4 to 8 meter parking. But it's right there in front of you, the last 3 spots. So it's not in between spots. Try to make it as visually pleasing as possible and understandable.
So I actually like the idea of after whatever the time is for the loading zone is fine. I don't think that, I think there would be a fist fight if we said free parking only on those during that time. I mean, I think people would be jumping in there. So I actually think it should revert to whatever the regular parking space is, be it 3 hours or 15-minute heads. But I'm just thinking out loud here, not to confuse this issue, but I'm kind of thinking if we're going to work on this, then maybe we should look at the big picture in terms of parking sign branding and branding for how we're parking, some more consistency, continuity in branding, and even for garage directional signs. So maybe we should look at this as a bigger package so that everything has some consistency to it. Does that make sense? I think it cleans.
We're going to talk about garage directional signs next week already, so.
Okay, so maybe we can, anyway, that's completely different, another aspect of this.
Okay,
but-
so what I'm hearing is everyone's okay with 15-minute meters. So I guess if you want to send it out to the chamber and the guild after they just put 15-minute meters go in the loading zones, then we could do that. And then they, it's a holiday weekend. I don't know how many people will get a chance to look at it, between now. I'm not saying the council, I'm saying like the businesses. How many of them are going to be able to look at it, understand it, but at least at a minimum, they could look at it and then either watch this meeting that night or watch it the following day and, see what their comments are. Again, we're not going to change anything until July 31st, so, we'd still hopefully have enough input to decide what to do as far as introducing an ordinance. We could also, if we had to, introduce an ordinance at the end of June and still adopt it, and still be able to adopt in July.
This is such an enormous sea change. I wonder if we should have a town hall meeting on it, just on this topic.
How many people will show up? And that's my question. I mean, I just don't know. It's a busy time. June is, you have graduations, you have communions, you have all sorts of things going on in town. We could do it. How many people are you going to get to come?
I feel like I kind of am agreeing over here with Mike, because I think it's a good plan. I do. And so I think the sooner we do it, the better. I just want to make sure that we have the buy-in from the businesses and they understand that change. And I do want to tweak some of those 15-minute, I think it's way too many 15-minute parking spaces. But I think we're in a really good place, and I don't think that it requires a town hall meeting. I just think it requires a modicum of courtesy to the businesses so they understand what that change entails.
And maybe in an e-notice, you could provide a link
Okay,
to the
Okay.
plan here.
sure. Could
Yeah,
do
but I
that.
would definitely be in favor of even just separating out the loading zone issue from any other parking issues or branding or 15 minutes or anything like that. Like, that is important to me to get done quickly. Like, we could talk about the rest of the parking meters and spaces or whatever you want to do, and that would be fine. But I think it's very important to get loading zones established
Yeah,
and,
no, I
and
think, yeah.
fix
I
this
agree.
problem.
Okay.
So, just so I know what we're doing, he's going to change everything that says complimentary to 15-minute meters. We're staying with the idea of loading zones during those morning hours into afternoon, and then 4 to 8 would be the meters. And then we're going to send it out to in an e-notice, because I know the chamber posts my e-notices, so if they post that and they have a link, they could then get it to their members.
But I wouldn't send it out in an e-notice. I would just distribute it to the chamber members and the businesses.
Okay,
because
well,
you know
I'll
what
send it
I
to
think that this impacts
Chamber and
them.
Guild.
It's their trucks that are coming in. They might actually really want to have these loading zones because I'm sure it's not great for their drivers. It's not good for their business to have the trucks in the middle of the road. I think that we should just be having a conversation with the, it's not a monumental change to anything. I don't see it as such. I think that it just, it makes flex spaces to
Right,
accommodate the trucks. I don't
Right.
think it's a really big change. I just think it makes sense. So I think we should just discuss it with the people that are most impacted and let them know that that's what we're looking to do. And
And then let them know that we're going to discuss it on June 1st again, which is next week.
right, exactly.
Okay. Okay.
Good. And then if anybody has feedback in the meantime, they can just email you directly.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. We got it? Okay.
Thank you.
All right, great. Thank you. Good presentation. I appreciate it. The next one is under budget, blue-collar and white-collar union salary ordinances. This has been approved by the council. The increases, salary increases for both blue-collar and white-collar unions. In 2020, it's 1.5%. 2021 is 1.5%. 2022 is 1.75%. 2023 is 2%. And 2024 is 2%. That'll be introduced this evening and then adopted in July. I mean, yes, in June, I'm sorry, in June. The next one is award contract under Educational Services Commission of New Jersey cooperative contract. This is for a new single operator leaf vacuum, which is similar to the one that we have at this time. This allows our employee to operate in the truck cab, shielded from traffic. It's a right-side steer model, so the operator can better see piles and clear the curb area than a left-side conventional unit. We actually received many compliments this past fall in our leaf pickup because it's the same model of vacuum. Having two will make our leaf pickups process even smoother. The award of contract, as I said, under the Educational Services Commission of New Jersey Cooperative is to Pierce Eagle Equipment Company of Branchburg, New Jersey, not to exceed $225,181.68, and the funding is in the 2022 capital budget. And by ordering it now, we hope to receive the leaf vacuum by October in time for our leaf season.
And this is not the same one or type that we had all the issues with.
Correct. This is the one that we just got in 2021, fall of
Right.
2021, and it was well-received, it worked wonderfully, and this is the same model as that.
Good.
And I understand we've had no complaints about the noise on this one.
No, we have not. The other one, the next one is awarding a contract under state contract for a 2022 Ford Explorer. We did want to purchase a hybrid model or an EV, but we were told the order deadline closed in February 2022 for that. It will not open again until 2023 or 2024. This will replace an older Ford Explorer, which has an electrical fault in the airbag system. We'd like to award this contract this evening so that the dealer does not sell it to another entity. The contract would be awarded to Route 23 Auto Mall, Butler, New Jersey, not to exceed $41,923, and funding is from the 2022 capital budget.
I do appreciate that the staff looked into hybrids, even though they turn out not to be available. I was looking at the statement in the memo that says village staff vehicle demand has increased as a result of the April 7th, 2022 flooding event
Correct.
that damaged several vehicles. How many of our vehicles were damaged?
The Explorer is the one that is inoperable. I think the other ones were. We were able to take them to our fleet services garage. They dried them out. They're up and running.
Okay.
I think this is the one that we could not.
I see. And don't we have a standard operating procedure to move our vehicles to high
We do,
ground?
we do, and it needs to be tightened up. And we know what we need to do to make it better, and that's what we're going to do. All right, the next item is award contract under Bergen County contract. This is to paint and restore the west facade of the old portion of Village Hall, including the columns. The current paint is faded, chipping, and unattractive, as well as the flagpole of Village Hall. We'd like to try to get this work done before July 4th. The resolution is for award of a contract under Bergen County contract to ANA Painting Corp. Of Hackensack, New Jersey, not to exceed $62,992.15.
Do you know
Mike-
when they'll get started on this? Is that what you were going to ask?
I'm sorry?
When would they do this?
We hope to get it done before July 4th. That's why we're trying to award it this evening.
Good, okay, great.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
So the west facade, so that you're just talking about one side of the building? Just the street side?
The
Yeah.
pillars, the peak, that's basically what we're looking
The
at.
window frames are all
Right.
I mean, they need it. It looks terrible. I looked at it tonight. But $62,000 for that sounds insane.
I thought it was a good price,
Yeah.
plus the flagpole. I actually thought, I was actually impressed with the pricing on it. I
Oh
thought
my
that was like
God.
amazing. Those pillars are gigantic, they're so tall, they're intricate at the top.
Right.
And that includes the flagpole, which everything is peeling on the flagpole.
Right.
Is
So-
there any indication of how many days this is going to take them?
I don't have that information.
But they have
I
to
just,
get-
like, the whole as I walked around the building, as you're facing the building, the right side is a mess as well. That needs to be done. I mean,
Well, this is a beginning, and then we can always go out and do others as well if we have additional funding. I know we did put in for the columns and the flagpole.
did you have several bidders?
This is through Bergen County Cooperative Purchasing.
I don't know. I think that's like an unbelievable amount of money for scraping and painting.
Well, but this firm is EPA certified for lead abatement, and if lead abatement is part of this quote, that almost doubles the price.
Yeah.
And on the other hand, in their quote, I don't see that they're tenting or taking those precautions. They say, we will gather all hazardous material and dispose of them at a hazardous waste site. But wait a minute, if they power wash and make all that asbestos friable, well, aren't they going to tent? And I would like to see that in their quote.
But I think there are set guidelines that have to be followed when you do find
Right.
any type of environmentally hazard material, whether it be lead paint or asbestos or anything like that.
So,
So I
is somebody
think they
going
wrote
to
it in.
do the X-ray on the paint on the wall of the building to see if there's lead paint.
Well, I think that's what you were pointing out, is that they have it in there that they were attentive to it, or at least going to attend to it.
Well, I was talking about the abatement itself.
I think
You know,
if they-
often you test the fluoroscopic X-ray to see if there is actually lead in the paint.
That, and I think what they're, I mean, I can only assume. I don't know these people, I don't know what it is, but I think the way that the quote is written, it might suggest that they're sensitive to the fact that there are environmental issues potentially here, and they're not going to rescue their license
Right,
over
true.
not doing it properly if they're going to at least put it in a quote. So you got to hope that that's it. I think if you contact them, they could probably rewrite the quote so that they show that they're going to at least take all the steps necessary to adhere to the regulations of removal. So I think you could probably do that if you wanted that in a quote.
I do think that I recall that we did go out to get it tested, and I don't think that it did have lead. But I will confirm that. But, I mean, at this point, if we don't award this tonight, we wait till June 8th and it won't be done by July 4th. That's fine. We don't have to rush it, but if you have those concerns.
I think that the price, given the size, those pillars are huge.
And
I
the
mean,
flagpole is a tough thing to do, too.
Yeah, they're
I've seen it done a
ornate,
couple
they're
times.
huge, the paint is peeling. This is the Bergen County, under the
Cooperative
Bergen
bid.
County Cooperative Contract, so they were all pre-approved, they're kind of like
Correct.
pre-qualified, so it's not just like any bidder, it's somebody that's already pre-qualified. This had to go through the freeholder, commissioner, sorry, right?
Yes, correct.
Well, I'm in favor of going forward with it if we can get that assurance from them. That's just a phone call, right?
We can do that.
I'm good.
I'm good.
I think they have to follow the safety guidelines. I don't think they have a choice.
Okay. And the next one is award of contract disposal of tree logs. This awards a contract to a qualified end-user vendor that gave the lowest responsible quote. It's RVH Mulch Supply, LLC of Wyckoff, New Jersey, not to exceed $50,000. These are all the trees that we've been taking down due to emerald ash borer, if they're dead or dying trees. We must truck the material to their receiving facility, which is in West Milford, New Jersey. We may need additional funds this year, depending on the emerald ash borer tree removal. The pile at the moment is huge, and we're trying to get that down so that it's more, first of all, so it's safer, but also so that it can, we can get rid of some of these logs.
And this pile's going to keep on growing, right?
It will, it will.
So going forward, or now, I just want to throw this idea out there. Do you want to try to sell it for firewood? Do you want to put it on Buy Nothing Ridgewood? Or,
Because there's the emerald ash borer, they're like, it's almost like infected wood, so now if you were trying to give it away to people, now you're spreading the ash borer
I was
all over
thinking
the
about
place.
that,
So
yeah.
you just probably have to dispose of it properly and get rid of it quickly so they're not flying out of the pile or anything like that.
all right. I just wanted to bring that up.
It's a good
Yeah.
idea if it
No,
were
yeah,
infested.
If it was just regular tree logs
Yeah.
or something, it'd be a great
Right.
idea, but just because of the nature of the emerald ash borer, you don't really want that thing getting, it's
Yeah.
already all over the place anyway, but you really want to help them out.
Right. Okay, so the next one is awarding contract renewal for emergency notification system. Rave Wireless, doing business as Rave Mobile Safety of Mahwah, New Jersey, provides our reverse 911 emergency alert service. This is to renew the contract for 1 year at a cost of $9,095. This is paid equally by Ridgewood Water and the Village of Ridgewood.
I'm in favor.
Okay.
Yep.
The last item is under operations. It's a third-grade teacher at Hawes School would like to dedicate a trail in Pleasant Park near Hawes School to the retiring principal, Dr. Paul Semendinger. He would like to lay out the trail by the end of the school year and have a dedication ceremony prior to Dr. Semendinger's retirement in June. The teacher has spoken with Nancy Bigos, and he also appeared before the Parks, Recreation, and Conservation Board last night. They unanimously approved the project and believe it is a win-win for our village community. Due to the fact that this is village property, the village council will need to consider a resolution for adoption to allow Semmes Trail to be laid out in Pleasant Park near Hawes School.
Okay.
Very nice idea.
All right,
Okay.
so we're good. So I
We're
guess
good.
we'll take a motion to suspend the work session and convene a special public meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Aye.
Don't we have to do a roll call? No,
Yeah, do roll call.
we have to do a roll call on that.
Here.
Who seconded that? No, wait.
Yes, before here.
Lorraine moved it, said she,
No.
No.
Mike did.
I'm sorry.
Pam
Mike.
seconded.
I
it.
second.
Second.
So
All
now we
right,
need
roll
the
call.
Yes, then here.
Yes.
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 Here.
Yeah, that was just roll call. We're all here.
Some of us are here.
Sorry. Yes, okay, sorry about that. Okay, very good. And now we'll go to, I'm going to call this meeting to order, Village Council Special Public Meeting. The date is May 25th, 2022, and the time is 9:03 p.m. Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by posting on the bulletin board of Village Hall, by mail to the Ridgewood News, the record, and by submission to all persons entitled. The same is provided by law of a schedule, including the date and time of this meeting. And now we need a roll call.
Here.
Here.
Is your microphone on?
Sorry. Councilwoman Reynolds,
Here.
Deputy Mayor Seaton,
I think I'm still here.
Councilman Vagianos is absent, and Mayor Knudsen.
I'm here, yes. Okay, very good. We're going to go to ordinances first. I move the first reading of ordinance 3908.
Second.
Perrin,
Yes.
Reynolds,
Yes.
Seaton,
Yes.
Knudsen.
Yes, so ordered. Will clerk please read ordinance 3908 by title?
An ordinance to fix salaries, wages, and other compensation and for blue-collar employees of the Village of Ridgewood, County of Bergen, and State of New Jersey.
I move that ordinance 3908 be adopted on first reading and that June 8th, 2022 be fixed as a date for the hearing thereon.
Second.
Perrin,
Yes.
Reynolds,
Yes.
Seaton,
Yes.
Knudsen.
Yes, I move the first reading of ordinance 3909.
Second.
Perrin,
Yes.
Reynolds,
Yes.
Seaton,
Yes.
Knudsen.
Yes, so ordered. Will clerk please read ordinance 3909 by title?
An ordinance to fix salaries, wages, and other compensation and for the white-collar employees of the Village of Ridgewood, County of Bergen, and State of New Jersey.
I move that ordinance 3909 be adopted on first reading and that June 8th, 2022 be fixed as a date for the hearing thereon.
Second.
Perrin,
Yes.
Reynolds,
Yes.
Seaton,
Yes.
and Knudsen.
Yes. Resolutions?
Just wanted to ask before we do it, is everyone okay with that last resolution for the trail? If you are, we can put it on the consent agenda. Okay, so just do it through 180.
Okay, fine.
The following resolutions numbered 22-174 through 22-179 are to be
Make it
adopted.
180.
Actually, 180, make it
180.
180.
180,
We're gonna do them
I'm
all.
sorry. 180 are to be adopted by a consent agenda with one vote by the Village Council. There is a brief description beside each resolution to be considered on the consent agenda. Each resolution will be read by title only. Extend time frame for grab-and-go parking spaces. Award contract under Educational Services Commission of New Jersey Cooperative Program Single Operator Leaf Vacuum Truck. Award contract under State Contract 2022 Ford Explorer. Award contract under Bergen County Contract Paint and Restore Columns, West Facade, and Flagpole at Village Hall. Award contract for disposal of tree logs. Award contract Swift 911 Emergency Alert and Notification System. Approve establishment of Semmes Trail, a walking trail in Pleasant Park near Hawes Elementary School.
Need a motion?
I
We need
make
a
a motion to
motion?
move the consent agenda.
Second.
Perrin,
Yes.
Reynolds,
Yes.
Seaton,
Yes.
and Knutson.
Yes, I'll take a motion to adjourn the special public meeting.
So moved.
Second.
And reconvene the work session.
I'm sorry?
And reconvene the work
I
session.
Did I start there? And reconvene the work session, sorry, thank you. All right, can we have
So
a-
moved.
Second.
Perrin,
Yes.
Reynolds,
Yes.
Seaton,
Yes.
and Knutson.
Yes. Okay, and with that, we're back to our regular work
Okay,
session.
we're back to our regular meeting now.
Yep.
Okay, hold on 1 second. Let me just get these out of the way. Okay. So, Ridgewood Water, water billing and data collection services, year 2. Ridgewood Water has utilized the bill and data collection services of CompuTel of Shelton, Connecticut since January 2018. The contract has a remaining option year for 2022. Due to changes in the online bill pay and customer engagement offerings during the last calendar year, Ridgewood Water will extend the term of this contract on a month-to-month basis for 2022, ending in September of this year. Due to the fact that they've relied much more heavily on CompuTel's programming, data integration, and reporting capabilities than we have in the past, customers transitioning to the more billing, user-friendly online bill pay offerings like to further itemize the required billing and data services, including a fixed hourly rate for programming. They are planning the bid opening for the service on June 1st. Therefore, the contract extension will give ample time to award the new contract.
Okay.
Any
Questions?
Okay. The next item is disposal of soil spoils. Ridgewood Water needs to dispose of soil spoils that have accumulated in excess of 15,000 square yards. They are a direct result of water main breaks, water main and service installations, and other daily water evacuation operations. The soil was analytically tested and exceeds standards for semi-volatile organic compounds. In the past, Ridgewood Water would dispose of this soil at the Keegan landfill in Kearney, New Jersey. That landfill is closed for the year 2022 and will not accept material of any kind. Other companies were contacted, and the lower price was from RVH Mulch Supply out of Wyckoff, New Jersey, at a cost of $300 per load. Therefore, the recommendation is to go with RVH Mulch Supply in an amount not to exceed $150,000. This is budgeted for in the water utility operating budget.
Okay, any questions?
How much more expensive is this than the Keegan landfill? And are they slated to reopen, or are they closed forever?
Mr. Calvi, come up.
Good evening. This is cheaper than Keegan.
Oh,
I'm not exactly sure of the price, but there's $375 a truck per ticket that they gave us. I do not know when they're going to reopen. They haven't given us a date. And this is for a good portion of the pile, but not the whole pile. This is bigger than the log pile, if you ever went down there. It's years of spoils from all the work that we've done.
where are we keeping it now?
It's at the Water Pollution Control Facility in the construction yard. It's in a contained area away from anything.
Thank you.
Anyone else? We're all good?
Okay. The next is to award a contract, materials and supplies for water main repairs under a Bergen County Cooperative Purchasing System to Brainstone Industries, Inc. of Haledon, New Jersey, not to exceed $120,000. The funding is in the water utility operating budget.
Okay. Anyone?
I was a little confused because in the memo, this talks about water main repairs, but in the resolution, it's clearly road repair materials. And I can see where those dovetail, but it just, it threw me off.
So it's a combination of both. We buy materials that go in the trench when the water main is backfilled and actually provide bedding for the water main as well, and then road materials that are required to repave the road.
On top.
And in some cases, new curbing, sidewalk, depending on where the water main is.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, the next item is award professional service for evaluation of the Carr water treatment plant. We have a need for professional services to look at this because to do additional microbiologic testing and prepare a well cleaning regime for the Carr wells to remove a biofilm causing biological activity. So this is an award of professional services with water quality investigations, Mount Horeb, Wisconsin, in an amount not to exceed $27,895, and the funding is in the water operating budget.
How many wells are at the Carr facility now?
5.
Okay, Pam?
Okay, next item is the authorized change order for the access control system for the Ridgewood Water headquarters. The Village Council previously approved the contract for the installation and maintenance of CCTV access control system for the Ridgewood Water headquarters to Secure Watch 24 of Moonachie, New Jersey, under the National Cooperative Purchasing Alliance contract. Additional funding is needed for the installation of a door monitoring, door contacts, and mag lock, which was not anticipated at the time of award. It would be change order number 1 to Secure Watch 24 in the amount not to exceed $2,357.28. The funding for this is in the water utility capital budget.
This isn't a lot of money for a change order, but I do have to ask why we didn't anticipate it.
So there are 3 exterior doors that we're not putting card readers on. When we did the walkthrough with the company and the police department, they recommended that we put these contacts so we know if the door is left open. So if someone happens to go through it, it'll leave a signal to the desk to let us know that door was left open. So we didn't anticipate that in the beginning, but it was a good recommendation.
So it was only in the walkthrough that this came up? Okay.
And the mag lock was just a change in the hardware, magnetic lock for the one exterior door.
Thank you.
Okay, the next is to award a sole source contract for leak detection services. Unaccounted for water has increased over the past several years, and water main breaks service leaks account for a percentage of this lost water. NJDEP requires all public and private water systems to conduct annual leak detection and report results via a web-based portal. Astera is a technology that utilizes satellite imagery to determine areas where chlorinated water is making contact with soil. These points of interest are then investigated by conventional means of leak detection. Astera has provided a quote for 1 full system leak survey and 10 days of conventional leak detection. Survey will cover 275 miles of Ridgewood Water's distribution network and provide an ESRI Geographic Information Systems-based report of active leaks. The recommendation is a sole source contract to Astera Technology of San Diego, California, in an amount not to exceed $39,750. The money is from the water utility operating budget.
So I just have a question. Did we identify this need for the full system, or was it a leak detection survey, or was it required?
There isn't a requirement per se, but it's been a long time since the entire system's been done. We used to do a quarter of the system at a time acoustically, but the technology changed, and the company that was doing it created a method whereby it was wireless, and it became very expensive. They wanted to put monitors in every single valve box at every hydrant, and it was going to be hundreds of thousands of dollars. So we were very interested in this technology. It's patented, and the satellite imagery provides points of interest that then will go out, and they actually provide 10 days of their professional people to come out as well, and then pinpoint in those points of interest where the leaks are.
Well, forgive me for being jaded, but I have to be a little skeptical because what they're selling, they say in several points, is a proprietary algorithm. So how will we know that they're really doing something? Are you satisfied that there's enough oversight or monitoring here that you think they're really going to be doing something and not just selling us a bill of goods?
They claim that a percentage of the points of interest that they identify have actual leaks, and we'll be able to verify that ourselves. So if they, for example, find 20 points of interest, and if we find all 20 have 0 leaks, then we know it's not a proven technology or algorithm. You know, and you know, we could, of course, called payment. You know, there's a lot of things we could do, but you know, based on what we saw in the examples they gave other communities, it's successful. You know, they've used it throughout the United States and Europe. It's an Israeli technology that was created for this purpose.
Okay.
And then on the, I always found the unaccounted water thing, the missing water, I've just, for whatever reason, it's always been a thing. I don't know why. But, so it's actually, the unaccounted for water has increased over the past years. So, do you know, do we know the percentage?
Our percentage is about 17%.
Of
You know,
unaccounted?
yes, we've run up and down between 15 and 17% over the last few years. We want to try to get to 10 or lower. You know, when you look at the amount of water we put out on an annual basis, this is significant. When you say 15%, it's upwards of 300 million gallons a year of water that's unaccounted for.
Right. And what was it prior to?
Prior to that, I don't know the numbers.
I remember it was 13% because it was half of Suez's leakage rate. That's my recollection about 5 years ago.
That's the increase. The New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection wants utilities like ours to be around 15, but our goal is to get to 10.
What's the value of that water?
It's huge. So it's water that's unaccounted for, not sold,
right.
But there's a cost to treat it, you know, pump it, you know, energy. Couldn't tell the exact number. I could get you a value to that. I could say the way it exceeds the cost of this technology.
And that's untreated water that's being leaked?
No, it's treated.
Treated.
This is treated water. Well, there could be some untreated water at the well source. Then maybe it's at a pump. You know, a lot of the older pumps are water cooled. You know, they could be leaking at the pump. You know, a lot of our chlorine, you know, pumps, you know, require water as well. So there could be some lost water there. It's not being metered. You know, but for the majority, it's treated water. It's a pressurized system. You know, you could have just a minor leak that's ongoing for years. It just adds up very quickly.
Okay. All right.
And they will not be fixing the leaks. This is just an investigative finding them.
We fixed them. Yes.
Okay.
All right, the next item is under parking. Thank you, Mr. Calvi. So we are requesting the changing of 3 parking ordinance. The first ordinance changes time limit parking. The second ordinance is overtime parking. And the third ordinance is for repeat parking. Sergeant J. Chuck is here to discuss these amendments to Chapter 265, Vehicles and Traffic. The amendments to these ordinances will allow the public to better understand the parking regulations and will allow the parking summonses written to be upheld due to the improved language in the ordinances. That's the hope.
So is this as a result of there was an incident that occurred recently that, so in other words, the time limit on, so it's a parking limit of 2 hours only on the entire street for the entire day. So if I have 2-hour parking on my street and I park my car for an hour and 45 minutes and then I leave and then I come back and I park my car again for an hour and 45 minutes, I've run afoul of the law?
Yes.
So I mean, it seems, because this exact incident just came up recently, where a resident, parked his car on his street, and he left his street for his car there for, whatever the time limit was, an hour and 40 minutes. He left, he went about some business, he came back, and now he moved his car elsewhere, maybe like a little bit further down, and he got a ticket. And then he was told that the 2-hour parking was for the entire day, so he could park 4 times for 30 minutes, he can park, 12 times for, I think this is, I don't understand why we're doing this, because I thought the purpose of the 2-hour limit was, and especially the street that this occurred on, the purpose of that was not to be punitive for the folks that live there, but was to prevent, it was actually implemented to prevent folks from parking on the roads and then walking down to the train station and leaving the cars stagnant all day. That was my recollection.
That's some of it. The other is where there are neighborhoods that are near commercial or near
Could I just have you speak into the microphone? Thanks.
Sorry. Where there's other areas that are near commercial or school areas, what happens is you have employees of a business, they park their car, and every 2 hours they move their car 6 inches, move their car 6 inches, move their car 6 inches. So they're actually parking on the street all day long. They're just moving the car a little bit, just enough to not be in the same place. So as long as I've been here, the 2-hour limit has always been interpreted by the police department to be the entire day. And it's 2 hour, 3 hour, 4 hour, depending on where you live in town. We have all 3 of those. And that also includes 15 minutes.
I don't know, whatever. It's good.
Most of these are not 15-minute ones, but all the others.
I'm having trouble hearing you.
Sorry. My mic was off. I apologize. These are mostly in residential areas at the fringes of the CBD, right? Except for the 15-minute ones.
Most of the time limit restriction areas are around either the commercial areas. Like we have a space up in Maltby, which is all the way on the Glen Rock side. I'm sorry, the Menlo Park side. Across the street are medical buildings. And again, it's the same plague. They want to leave their parking lot open for their patrons, so all the employees park on the street, and they just march the car down the street all day long, and they all just march the cars down the street. So they're clogging the street up, so that's why this time limit was produced, so they wouldn't stay there for the entire day. They wouldn't stay there all morning, come back after lunch, and stay there all afternoon. So it's kind of the time limit restrictions is the time limit usage is really based on that problem.
Okay.
So we're talking about the time limit one now. Are there any other questions or comments about that time limit? We'll do that first, and then we'll move on to the next one.
Yeah, I'm having a problem with this because I feel like this impacts just the folks that are there just looking to live every day. Sometimes you run home, you park your car in the street, and just out of curiosity, if let's just say, my street had 2-hour parking, and I parked my car in front of my house, and then I went to the grocery store or something, and then came back. Who's in charge of saying, okay, Susan was here from 10 a.m. until 11:15, and so Susan has another 45 minutes in the bank that when she comes back, it seems cumbersome to me. Somebody's got to come back and say, okay, now she's got another 15 minutes. And if I park for 15 minutes and then I come back maybe for another 15 minutes, then who's saying I parked for total? Who's adding up my time? It seems so cumbersome and
It certainly is.
Yeah.
The problem is it's already the rule. It's just vaguely written. This is how we've been enforcing it for the 20 years that I've been here and probably longer. Now people are dissecting every word out of the ordinance, and it's becoming problematic on the judicial side here. So this is really just clarifying what we've been doing. The change in the ordinance, we're not really changing anything in the ordinance structure besides the words to clarify this is what we mean. So this is already the way it's being enforced.
And I think it would be impossible to really enforce this on every street, every day in the village of Ridgewood. So I think by having it on the books, I mean, maybe sometimes you're the unlucky person who it just happens to get caught up in it, but I think it's enforceable. So if you do live by one of these commercial areas and a problem does develop with a doctor's office and people are constantly parking on the street, well, now it's clearly defined and enforceable. So I don't think like they're, you know, you guys tell me if I'm wrong, but I don't think you guys are going down every street in Ridgewood and picking up cars and seeing how long they're there.
No, and in fact, you know, I just actually had a nice conversation with a resident on Ethelbert who is running into the same issue, and their complaint was the parking enforcement guy is going down the street 10 times a day. Well, absolutely, that's how he's figuring out who's been there all day and who hasn't. And again, it came from Whole Foods and the big store that was there even before that. All the employees weren't parking in the lot, they were parking in on that street. So again, this is what we're trying to combat.
Mm-hmm. But what we're trying to combat, though, impacts the people just who live there.
And again, it's already there.
Yeah.
We're just clarifying the words.
Okay. Anyone? Any other
All right.
questions?
Okay, so the next one is the overtime parking.
So overtime, obviously, again, in 2022, people dissect the ordinances to death, and again, in the court, and we're running into problems where it basically almost doesn't really imply that you have to pay the meter anymore. We now have kiosks and cell phones and apps and phone calls and some meters. So the change in the ordinance, again, is to really just kind of make it less vague and more understandable for people of how the payment is anticipated by the village, which is you can pay by the kiosk, the app, your cell phone, and if there's a meter head there, obviously by the meter head. It also says that you have to pay correctly. And you know, we used to run into the issue all the time where when we were back in the old days and we had meters, if people chose to pay or mistakenly paid the wrong meter, they didn't pay the right parking spot to pay for. So now with the technologies, people are running into, I didn't pay with the right car, I didn't pay with the right credit card, I didn't pick the right zone, and we're really 5 and 6 years into these zones and these new avenues of paying. So I'm kind of not really okay with people not getting it yet. In the court setting, we're now finding people come here 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 times and have the same complaint to the judge, and the judge is having trouble with these folks in the court setting. You know, there's like, oh, I picked the wrong car, and you let me go last time. Or, you know, you told me, don't do it again. Well, I screwed up, I did it again, I apologize. And like I said, the old ordinance written in the 70s and 80s is not really addressing 2022 problems.
Can I just suggest grammatical changes? The fourth line down says payment can be made up to maximum allotted parking time. I think it would read better if it said payment may be made up to the maximum allowable parking time.
My mom's going to thank you later.
Do we know yet whether Park Mobile allows repeat parking?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question.
Do we know whether Park Mobile allows repeat parking?
So Park Mobile right now is not restricting how many times you can pay. It's not watching whether you paid for 1/2 hour and decided to get lunch and stay for another hour and a half. It's kind of on you. And the same thing with the meters. Back in the old days, the meters didn't tell you that you paid you 3 hours and you can't do it again.
I'm hearing complaints at the Chamber of Commerce about employees using Park Mobile to get around the 3-hour limit.
So they're not getting around the 3-hour limit if they're using Park Mobile.
Well, they're repeat parking.
They may be paying extra, but If they're parked in the same spot for more than 3 hours and they're paying, we're finding it.
You are?
Yep.
Okay, fine. Okay.
I think the tickets are on the cars all the time. It's the same cars, right?
Yeah, we have a really good staff right now, and they're very diligent, so
Yeah.
they're doing a great job finding those folks.
Okay.
I have a question on this, because I was born in the wrong century. I've never used Park Mobile. I will never use Park Mobile. I have never used an ATM machine. I hope to never
I
use an
second the
ATM
motion.
machine in my life. If the kiosk doesn't work, if it doesn't take my credit card, if it doesn't take my coin,
There's another kiosk for you to use.
you can.
E-
Oh, okay.
every-
See, I
every-
always thought you had to use the kiosk closest to the space. You can use any kiosk?
No, you can. Every zone has at least 2 kiosks. Some zones have 3.
So how do you know?
How do you know?
Okay, so I always go to the closest kiosk. Say it doesn't work. How do I know the second kiosk? Is there a number on it or something that?
So they're all labeled. So it'll say Van Ness 1, Van Ness 2, Eastridge Ave 1 through 11, Broad Street, North Broad Street 1, 2, 3, 4.
So would there be 4 kiosks on Broad Street that I could pay if one didn't work?
You can't quote me, but there's at least 3, if not 4.
Okay.
No, but then, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. I'm just trying to figure out. I didn't know that. I thought you had to pay at the one that was closest.
No, I mean, we try to, they're sprinkled the best we can to be as convenient for people. That's kind of why, like, a lot of times you see them kind of at the ends of the streets. So you're going to go north or south, you're going to run into a kiosk. The longer streets, we've sprinkled some extras down the middle to just be a little more convenient. I mean, you still have to walk to a kiosk. You're losing some convenience there.
No, that's no problem, because I'm just never paying with Park Mobile. Sorry, I don't know how to do it. I don't want to get the app. I don't want to know anything about it. And I'm sure there's a lot of people like me. So if a kiosk doesn't work, I thought there's nothing else I could do.
Well, one thing Sergeant Chuck told me, which I didn't know, is that there's a phone number you can call and pay by phone. Now, we need to put that phone number on the kiosk, but I didn't realize you could do that.
Is it still paying through Park Mobile?
It is.
It is.
And you're still getting the charge?
I'm assuming that you're gonna. I actually have never used the phone method.
Because I won't do that either.
But when you do call, there is, I mean, obviously everything's automated, but there is a body on the other side you can talk to.
Okay, yeah. See, sorry, I'm not giving them my money. I'll give the Village of Ridgewood my money. I'm not giving Park Mobile my money.
So just so I understand, if you park in a parking space, it is feasible, though, to go to the closest kiosk and pay in a different zone, because and if you pay in the wrong zone, then your car isn't registered, and that would generate a violation. So I think that's because when Councilwoman Reynolds made that comment, it occurred to me that if somebody's kiosk isn't working, and let's just say I'm going to head south right now, so they continue heading south to the next closest kiosk, at least to make the good faith effort to pay, they could pay in the wrong zone and then wind up with a ticket, even though they have a receipt.
That's possible, yes.
So how do you make sure you're paying in the right zone? Is there are they labeled somehow that?
So every street is littered with parking signs that say you are in zone 4305, 4307, 4330, whatever. So if you look up, you're going to find out what zone you're in.
So it's not on the kiosk itself, it's on a sign, on a pole?
Each kiosk is telling you what zone they're attached to, but whenever you're in the street, you can see what zone you're currently standing in.
Okay.
And it does, the perfect example is Chestnut Street. where the Chestnut Street lot and this Chestnut Street kiosk is right next to each other.
Right.
So you're looking at the kiosk in the lot, and you want to go that way, you're going to walk into that meter. So it does happen, but that's responsible paying, I guess, is an issue.
All right. I don't know. What was this about ordinance?
Okay, so the third ordinance, are we ready to move on, is for repeat parking.
And again, this is just clarifying the intentions of the ordinance from the early 18th century when the Model T was in here and this ordinance was first written to today, addressing what increasing parking is really is in town, which is continuously parking in the same individual marked parking spot beyond the maximum period allowed. So if you are parked, let's just keep math simple, if you're on Chestnut Street and you find an open parking spot and you're there for 3 hours and you know your time limit's up and you park at the end of the block, that's okay. You're allowed, as long as you move the car, it's okay. You're allowed to park in any other space in the village of Ridgewood as long as you move the car.
Even if it's the spot next
Even if it's the
door.
next spot. Also, this will allow folks to be downtown, they work downtown, they decide to go home for lunch and go to the bank and go to the cleaners, and they come back, and by miracle they find the same exact spot, that's okay. Because they're not staying there and clogging up that spot all day long. They've gone out, they've done other things, and they just happen to find that spot again. That's spontaneous. That's okay.
How does it stop? Because I've always heard of, employees, my 3 hours is up, my 3 hours is up, let's go out and swap spots. So that's allowed?
Yes.
I thought that wasn't allowed, though.
I mean, nobody likes it, but it's allowed.
Okay.
I actually thought that if you put in enough money for 1 hour, you couldn't go back and put in for another hour. But now this clarifies it for me, so I appreciate that. And nitpicking point, individually marked, adverb.
His mother thanks you.
So, are we ready to introduce this then on June 8th? The way it is? Did you want changes?
I'm okay with it.
Okay.
I mean, it just seems weird because I never thought you could park more. So you could park for 6 hours now. It's really not a 3-hour parking.
Well, it's not, and again, this is the way we've always been enforcing it. It's 3 hours in the individual spot. Because it's really easy to identify, hey, you were in this spot all day long. Mm-hmm. But like I said, we have store owners, we have employees, we even have patrons. They'll come in the morning, they'll have breakfast, they'll spend an hour or two, and then they want to come back in the afternoon. Right now, there is an abundance of parking, so is it possible that you can park in the same spot in the afternoon? Absolutely, and we encourage that. Come back. Mm-hmm. So I think this allows people to understand it a little better.
Okay. I just don't like the idea of employees using the parking spots all the, doing the trick. Like, it defeats the purpose of the employees should park on the 4th floor of the garage or cottage place, or, not take up the street parking.
We agree, and that's a battle that's been going on for as long as I can remember. I mean, the top of the garage is almost full every day, so that's really been doing well, and the same thing with the Walnut Street lot. Again, I think the study said that there's about 400 employees downtown at any given time, especially in the evenings. We only offer them 70 spots.
Well, we could offer more, and quite honestly, I personally think that it's the job of their employer and the business owner to tell their employees not to take up those valuable customer parking spaces. As much as it's our job to enforce, I think it's their job to tell their employees that if they want to continue as an employee and be on the payroll, that the only way that that's sustainable is if they have customers.
I agree. And that's why we also want to stick with the time limit, because we don't want them parking on Washington Street all day.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
We can actually, I mean, is that something you think we should do, is increase the number of employee parking spaces? But I thought we did that once in the Cottage and the parking
Well,
spaces.
Cottage, they can park all day.
Right.
Anyone can park all day, so.
Well, because we changed it, because remember, we used to have
Yes,
all
they
those
were
employee
they were
spaces, and
empty.
they were all empty all day long.
Right.
But is there a place, I mean, I think that would be a good, something to be brought forward, if there's an area that we can allocate additional parking spaces to that more congested, Chestnut area, if there's an area that we can maybe find additional parking for employee parking spaces, I think maybe that's a good thing.
What I'm hearing at the chamber is a suggestion that we offer free parking for employees at Cottage Lot for a little while, so that we've trained them where it is, and then start charging them after that when they get
We used to
it.
charge them half price, and they didn't park there.
Yeah, we charge
Yeah,
like
didn't we
next to
used to
nothing.
charge them like a
My
quarter
hairdresser
for
did.
an hour?
She
or
was
something?
sorry to see it go.
Okay.
Okay. Well, anyway, just something if you think of it.
I mean, I'll certainly go back to the team, and we'll kick around some ideas. We're always trying.
Good, thank you.
Okay, thank you,
Jay.
Sergeant Chuck.
Thank you.
So Bob Rooney, our village chief financial officer, is here this evening to discuss the first quarter's financial statements.
Good evening. So as in prior years, I don't produce quarterly financial statements for the first quarter because we don't adopt the budget until April. So these are actually 4-month financial statements. So what I'll do first is I included the balance sheets and income statements for the prior 4 or 5 years by fund. So I'll go through the funds first, and please, if you have any questions, just stop me, and I'll hopefully be able to answer your question. So first we have the general fund. The assets are approximately $1.5 million higher than the prior year, and that's for cash sitting in the grant fund, which was the ARP money that came in that we did not appropriate until 2022. On the liability side, second page, the significant change there is the emergency notes payable that were issued to fund the special emergencies that we had to do for COVID and the revenue shortfalls that we had in the prior years. The income statement for the current fund, the two highlights there are the current tax overall revenue increase of approximately 4% over the prior year. Other debits reflects almost $600,000, and those are tax board judgments that we were hit with during the year as a result of state adjudication for tax appeals. The overall statutory excess to fund balance was down approximately 5%, and the fund balance at the end of the year remained flat. Next are the revenues for the first 4 months of the year. The total local revenues are approximately 28% of budget. Most of those are due to June billings, billings that would not occur till later on in the year. The state aid is zero. That doesn't start to come into us until August. The other special items were about 46%. These are one-time revenues that we were able to take in for the first 4 months. Delinquent taxes are up about 50% of what we anticipate during the year. And overall, the general revenues are at what we would expect at about 33% of budget. On the appropriation side, beginning with, I need a magnifying glass. Slide 7. The salaries and wages in most cases do not contain allocations that we make for costs that are incurred from parking and water. So they're going to be a little bit higher right now. Those allocations usually get done in the second quarter of the year. And in the other expenses, the encumbrances, again, since we just opened up our accounting system because we adopted the budget, a lot of the accounts do not have encumbrances that are posted. But going through line by line, every department or subcategory is below what we would anticipate this time of year, with the exceptions of those that may be statutory, such as insurance, which require premium payments prior to mid-year, or any other statutory unemployment, things of that nature that we would normally pay out. So on an overall basis, we're at about 39%, just slightly higher than what I would anticipate for the current year. Water utility operating, we have a significant increase in our cash balances, roughly $2 million over what we had this time at the end of last year. And on the liability side, our fund balance is a plus $1 million. The other increase in the liability side are unexpended appropriation reserves of about $900,000. On slide 16, our combined revenues for water and miscellaneous are about 2.5% higher than they were for 2020. Total expenditures are about 7% higher than they were for the prior year. We're showing approximately $1 million higher in fund balance. That's generated by a $2.3 million carryover from the prior year, and a $2 million decrease in the statutory excess. The revenues for water for the 4 months show about 30% of what we'd anticipate this time of year. Again, there are bills that do not go out until July, so it will be another, probably the third quarter by the time we see this achieve the anticipated revenues that we projected. On the appropriation side, again, some of this is timing related for debt service, but we're at about 23% of what we anticipated we would spend this time of year, and we still have some encumbrances that have yet to be put into the financial system. Parking utility operating, big difference from the prior year sticks out, and that is the special emergency of $700,000, which we utilized to offset the revenue shortfall from the prior year. Our fund balance, however, this year has shown about a $300,000 increase. On the operating side, page 20, the parking lot fees are about 60% higher than they were for 2020, and they're almost at the levels that they were at 2019, which is fantastic. We still have that special emergency I talked about for the revenue shortfall, but overall we're at about $300,000 in fund balance higher than we were in 2020. The revenues through April 30th are at about where we would expect them to be, 33%. And on the appropriation side, again, because of the timing and not having some encumbrances posted, we're at 25% of budget. And for the first time, I've given you comparative balance sheets for capital funds. I combined the three funds together. The significant differences between the years would be the unfunded portion, deferred taxes unfunded, which represent new ordinances that have been put in place and have yet to be financed by permanent or temporary debt. On the liability side, the bond anticipation notes are up because of temporary funding, and the bonds payable go down, which is fantastic. We will be having a bond sale this year to fund some of this temporary debt. I'm holding off as long as possible because of the change in interest rates right now. So we'll deal with that as we get towards the third quarter. And on the last page, the net debt as a percent of equalized valuations is up from 0.87 to 0.94. And again, that's the result of new ordinances being introduced. We will be focusing on canceling ordinances probably in the next 2 or 3 months as a result of Those ordinances we put in place to cover costs for IDA that we will not be using, so that'll bring this number, 0.94, down to a lower number. Any questions?
It'll go down to what?
It'll bring that 0.94 down as a result of cancellations.
Okay.
You're holding off on bond sales because you anticipating interest rates are going to go down by the third quarter?
Well, I have a couple of situations. I can't sell prior to the maturity of my notes by more than 60 days. So I'm sort of held hostage there.
Okay.
And I do know rates are going up pretty quickly. But according to our financial advisor, we expect that to start to level off. But I don't have the ability to issue any permanent financing right now until we get towards the end of the year.
Okay.
Anyone else? We good? Pam?
Great.
Okay.
No,
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, our next item is awarding contract for pre-employment and commercial driver license drug and alcohol testing. This is done, all of our employees do receive pre-employment physicals, and then all of our village employees with commercial driver's licenses are subject to random drug and alcohol testing 4 times a year. This contract will be awarded to Valley Medical Group of Mahwah, New Jersey. We are currently reviewing the cost for this service over the past 5 years, and will have an amount not to exceed in the resolution for the public meeting in June. The CDL testing is required under federal law, and the pre-employment physicals for new employees have been required by the village for over 35 years. So, the next item is awarding contract for short-term mid-size vehicle rentals. So we have a lot of activity going on by various utilities in the village, in the roadway, and so we do have a lot of police details for this work. In order to have enough cars with the lights on, which is necessary in these closing or detours for the roadways, we need to get some short-term rentals to cover those police details. So we're renting between 2 and 4 mid-sized vehicles from Enterprise Local Store on North Maple Avenue to augment the fleet. They're equipped with emergency lights only and are allowing the village to continue to charge for vehicle services for construction detail requests. So we'd like to award a contract under Sourcewell to Enterprise Rent-A-Car of Wayne, New Jersey, in an amount not to exceed $28,000. This is funded through the police operating budget. There's times when they only need 2 of these cars and others when they need 4, and Enterprise has been working with us so we can just kind of take the number of cars that we need at the time, which has been beneficial. There's another short-term rental, which is for pickup trucks. Again, this is to augment the fleet for the period during this time where we have increased construction details. These cars are equipped with emergency lights and sirens and allow the village to continue to charge for the vehicle services. These vehicles, because they're pickup trucks, also allow for carrying of detour equipment to be housed in the truck and deployed easily. The contract would be under state contract to United Rental of Ridgefield Park, New Jersey, not to exceed $28,000, and again, it's funded through the police operating budget.
Just to clarify, the 28,000 is in the aggregate, it's not per vehicle?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
And by a mid-sized vehicle, is that like a sedan?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Or, yeah, something of that nature.
How did you arrive at 28,000?
They averaged it over what they've spent so far and what they're going to be spending, they believe, going forward. The utility work's probably going to last through, November until it gets too cold to be able to do it. So there's a lot of work going on.
They've been everywhere.
Right, exactly. The next one is the leasing and the maintenance of vehicles for the police department. So this is the first year of a 3-year contract for the 6 administration, detective, and traffic van vehicles, and then also the maintenance of 1 patrol Tahoe. This is, again, awarded under Sourcewell to Enterprise Fleet Management of Wayne, New Jersey, not to exceed $50,000. and it's funded through the police operating budget. We've been leasing these types of vehicles for many years, and this is a continuation of that program.
So are we talking about 6 vehicles?
It's 6 vehicles for leasing and maintenance, and then 1 patrol Tahoe, which is maintenance only. We own the Tahoe, but we do get the maintenance done through Enterprise.
When I read the resolution, it's not clear to me how many vehicles we're talking about.
Okay, we can put it in there.
Yeah.
Let me just put a note here. Vehicles. Okay. The next one is under policy, and this is the endorsing the passage of S330A3804 to restore the energy tax receipts to municipalities. So taxes on gas and electric utilities were originally collected by municipalities to be used for local purposes. And the state made itself the collection agent for these taxes, just like we collect for the Board of Ed and for the county. And then they were supposed to then give it back to the local municipalities. Well, unfortunately, that has not happened for several years. And so therefore, local municipalities have not received these taxes, which would help to obviously provide some property tax relief, perhaps. So by reducing that, it's compromised revenues that should be returned to municipalities. And so what these 2 bills are trying to do is to restore over a 5-year period the energy tax receipts to the municipalities. And it's urging the legislature to swiftly pass it and Governor Murphy to sign it before adopting the fiscal year 2023 state budget.
How did this come to us?
Several other towns have adopted it. The league had also mentioned that it was bills, 2 bills that should be considered for consideration to be adopted.
I'd like to read the bills.
Sure.
And I'd like to look over the the act.
Sure. The bills are on the state legislature. I could print them out for everyone if you'd like them.
Yeah.
Is everyone else okay with doing this, or do you want to have the bills?
I'm okay. I've reviewed it all, but I think it's wise to send it.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll send all that.
Yeah, if you have the citation for the act.
Sure, we can get that.
Thank you.
Sure. The next one is under operations, authorizing execution of an encroachment agreement for 32 Sherman Place. The resident is seeking to repair a retaining wall along the south side of their property. It was discovered the wall was minimally encroaching into the village's right-of-way of Washington Place. The resident wishes to maintain the wall and has submitted a request for an encroachment agreement. We need to pass a resolution to do so. So you can see by the picture, the wall is quite old. It's been there for many years, has been encroaching for many years, and so in this way, the resident can keep the wall in the place it is and repair and replace it.
Okay, everyone's good with the encroachment?
The next one is declaring property surplus for the fire department. One is their former front-load washer, which has been replaced with a professional gear washer, and it removes carcinogens in the turnout gear, and the other is fire hose. An outside company tests their fire hose, and some of it fails every year because it's unable to hold the high pressures needed for firefighting. The hose will usually last approximately 20 to 25 years. So this is declaring it surplus so it can be disposed of.
Sounds good. Any
Okay.
questions on that? All right. Okay. All right, very good. With that, we'll go back to public comments. Sorry. Public comments from the public?
Good evening. Catherine Schmidt, 123 South Irving Street. And I just wanted to take a couple minutes to read into the record an email that I had sent to village council members over the past week. I was so glad to see the posters with the names of each Ridgewood High School senior posted across the fences at RHS and Graydon over the past weeks in anticipation of celebrating their graduation this month. And it got me thinking. Posting these banners was a practice that was instituted as a result of COVID. It had not been done before, but the constraints of COVID on school attendance, in-person gatherings, and traditional graduation ceremonies inspired school administrators, parents, and residents to think outside the box and make a difficult situation better. With the village's support and cooperation, they came up with this idea, one of many solutions that emerged during the crisis. It seems like, as a result, many people now realize that regardless of how these posters came about through COVID, this could be a wonderful new idea to incorporate into our village life, and I suspect that these posters will continue over the coming years. So other ideas emerged during COVID that I would hope we do not unilaterally throw out just because they came to fruition during this difficult period. These include things like the pedestrian mall, dining corrals, grab-and-go parking, and hybrid meetings. And there very well may be others. I don't believe there will ever be any going back to the way we were. And just like the high school posters, I hope we can find a way to capitalize on the new and different thinking and practices that the COVID emergency created, and find ways to make our village even better by incorporating them in some way into our long-term strategy. I hope you will consider ways to rethink some recent decisions and discuss ways to create something even better. This will mean compromise on all sides, but I think some cool new ways of being can emerge. And I do thank you for considering my recommendations and for your service to Ridgewood. And since I think I still have a little bit more time, that was what I wrote. But
you have actually a lot of time left.
Excuse me?
I think you have a lot of time left.
I was really glad to hear the discussion today about the 15-minute parking and all the different parking solutions that we might come up with, because I think this is a really good idea of, look, we have this thing called grab and go during COVID, and maybe we don't want to do it exactly that way, but there's some new ways to think about it. And the other one that I would put very much on the table, I mean, pedestrian mall is certainly important, corrals, et cetera, but hybrid meetings. I'm going to harp on that continuously. Recognizing something I didn't even know, that hybrid meetings could be as simple as saying that instead of my having to come here tonight to read this, I could have sent it to have it incorporated into the record. And hybrid even to say, you don't have to do everything in person. Maybe it's not Zoom meetings at this point or go-to meetings, but there could be other ways for citizen involvement other than just having to come here all the time. So I would hope that you might consider in the future that I could write something like this and it could be part of the record. So thank you very much, and good night.
Thank you, Catherine. Have a good evening. And I think that's probably it. So I guess we will take a resolution to go into closed session.
Be it resolved by the Village Council of the Village of Ridgewood that the Village Council meet in closed session on May 25th, 2022 at 7:30 p.m. or as soon thereafter as the matter on the agenda can be reached, and that said closed session be held in the fourth floor caucus room of Ridgewood Village Hall, 131 North Maple Avenue, Ridgewood, New Jersey. And be it further resolved that the matters to be discussed in closed session are limited to personnel, fire department, and contract negotiation, Pease Library lease. These matters are allowable under NJSA 10:4-12 et sec, and be it further resolved that the minutes of this meeting shall be made available to the general public when such matters have been deemed completed by resolution of the Village Council. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay. So who seconded?